It's a good day for a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, The Reunion, Part 2. So if you haven't seen Reunion Part 1, you might want to skip back there and take a look at it. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, The Reunion, Part 2. Let me tell you something. I have something in my nose here. This cast is giving more energy on this reunion than they did the entire season, to be quite honest. And that's really saying something, too, because a lot of them are just sitting there and being quiet unless they absolutely have to speak. It's kind of weird, actually, to be quite honest. But let's get into it, shall we? So this reunion is reunion part 2 is picking up exactly where we left off. So this is Amanda's package, and Boz is asking Amanda about her comment about her losing money on her online classes. Of course, Amanda's like, I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. And the point Boz is trying to make is she's not making money on the online classes because they're like a charitable venture. It's for people that couldn't go to Harvard or couldn't do business school. That's what these classes are for. I also have to say, too, that, I wouldn't be surprised, since she was so interested in Boz's classes, and she's also said it numerous times on the show, that she didn't take them, like a long time ago, before she even met Boz, for her own business. Do you see what I'm saying? When it comes to Amanda Francis, like her business, I mean, it's a business, but it's a little questionable. Allegedly, they don't do refunds when asked. She boasts that all these people love her online classes. I mean, she's got like a 98% approval rate type deal. You know what I mean? And if you notice, you do see people saying, oh, I took this class. It was wonderful. Like they weren't making a penny and now they're like a millionaire or whatever the case is, right? But I think that she's paying these people to say this on the down low. And I'm thinking it could be she's paying them kind of like affiliates, where it's legal, right? But questionable. You know what I mean? I'm just putting it out there. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's get back to the reunion, shall we? So then Andy definitely says to Boz, do you still believe like she's creating like a cult? Boz is like, look, she's telling these women to manifest, to think a certain way, to act a certain way, to, achieve making money. That's like cult-like behavior. And of course, Amanda's going to deny that up one side and down the other. However, Andy also asks Amanda about her third book she's writing because, it's like all about the cult. Mm-hmm. She says, well, I'm on my 6th chapter. But then she continues to say that her editor is making her kind of dig in, like to get those feelings across, like dig in. Well, Erika catches on to this right away. She's like, whoa, wait a minute. Editor. She's like, I thought that you did everything yourself. Mm-hmm. Amanda says, well, everybody knows you have to have an editor. Well, all the ladies are like, really? I mean, editors normally don't make you dig into your feelings. That would be more like a co-writer, somebody listening to your story and putting words on paper. I'm just saying. Anyway, so then Kyle says, I don't know why everyone's going after each other's businesses in the first place. Well, that opened the door to Dorit, literally. Dorit says, you opened the door there. She says, I've had my first venture in 5 years, and you didn't support me. Well, right away, Kyle gets on her phone. She's looking back at the text that she sent to Dorit, and she decides to read it, which basically says, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to attend. I've been up since 2 a.m. planning my daughter's wedding, which I do believe. She says, I hope we can talk another time. I know you RSVP to the wedding. I look forward to seeing you there, and basically have a great night, and I wish you the best, or I wish you luck, or whatever. So then Dorit replies, I totally understand. Yes, we will talk at a later date. I will see you at the wedding. And thank you for the good wishes. Okay. So Kyle's thing is that, and she says this, that when she watched it back, Boz is winding up Dorit after this text was sent. And Dorit's like, that's not the case at all, number one. It's called being polite, which is so true, right? But in the recap, they show you where Dorit is saying to Boz, now do you think that Kyle's intentions are good? And Boz says, yeah, it's not looking that good, is it? This was Dorit's thing all along, right? Then all of a sudden, Kyle starts like, I've supported you all these years. I supported you with Juicy Dog, whatever the case was. I supported you when you had your bathing suit line. I supported you when you redid Buca de Becca. Remember that? That wasn't that great. But Dorit's like, no, Kyle. I'm not talking about you supporting me like when I first joined the show, basically. She's like, I'm talking about you supporting me. Let's just talk about the last 2 years. And right away, Kyle says, we're not friends. Mm-hmm. Dorit says, exactly. This was Dorit's point this whole season, even really last season. But she really made it a point this season because of Kyle's behavior towards her. Kyle kept going to every single cast member, talking behind her back, and making it seem like, I love her, I care about her, I'm so concerned about her. And Dorit's point at the whole season was, if she was a friend, why wouldn't she just come to me with her concerns? But she's not. She's going to every single cast member here. That's not a friend. Dorit's right. I mean, and this, Kyle just put the icing on the cake for Dorit. You know what I'm saying? But Andy says, let's try and kind of wrap up the package on Amanda, because even Amanda was like, excuse me, isn't it my package? He says that, Dorit, you took a big hit from the fans, and a lot of heat when it came to keeping the discussion going at the dinner table after Amanda said that it was the anniversary of Zion's death. And, I have a problem with this because, listen, you're at a dinner party. You know this person's going to be here, and you have something to say to them, right? You're thinking about it before you even get there. You have no idea that this person's son died 3 years ago. And even if you knew about it, you didn't know it was that day. That was the anniversary, right? So naturally, you're going to turn around at the dinner party and say, listen, Amanda, this is Dorit, I have a problem with you talking about me and my husband when basically you don't know either one of us. You know what I'm saying? And Amanda responds with, can I just be honest? Today's the 3-year anniversary of Zion's death, and I'm like hanging on by a thread. You are not expecting, number one, that response. And number two, even though you might be sympathetic, what does that have to do with you talking about me and my husband? I'm on Dorit's side here because I really think that, look, if you're grieving, which I'm not saying she wasn't, if you're grieving because that's the date of his anniversary of his death, stay home. Tell production, listen, I'm not coming to dinner. This is the anniversary of my son's death. I'm not coming. But you decided to come to the dinner. So you decided to play. So bringing that comment out is just an excuse you didn't want to talk about it. I mean, because if you came to the dinner, you came to play. You see what I'm saying? Just my opinion. Rachel turns around and says, look, I didn't really have a problem with what was said at dinner. I had a problem with what was said before dinner. She starts to explain about how Dorit came in to the dinner party, and was so excited because she signed a book deal. And then right away, Amanda, because Dorit was saying, I've hired this mother-daughter duo. They're going to be the co-writers. And Amanda right away was like a ghostwriter? Just sat down and wrote my book myself. It was so rude, inappropriate, read the room, lady type deal, right? And this is what Rachel's problem was with her. Amanda did apologize, but Rachel's like, I'm trying to make you understand that you're one-upping. Like, you need to stop. And Amanda says, oh, I'm not one-upping. Oh, yes, you are. That is one-upping. So I'm trying to explain to you that you are doing this and you need to stop. Then they break for lunch. And now we have Jennifer Tilly entering the reunion. We have Kathy Hilton entering the reunion. Kathy, God love her. As wealthy as she is, as well-traveled as she is, this woman's a mess. I mean, a mess. She's like getting out of the car. She has her driver there. There's production there greeting her. And she's like, here, can you hold this? Can you hold my bag? Can you hold my pillow? Can you hold my fan? Oh, take my lunch. Oh, hold this other bag. She's a mess. She's just a mess. So everybody comes back to the stage, including these two. Jennifer Tilly has this gown on that has her face on it. I have to tell you, I'm not usually into gimmicky things like that, but it looked good. I thought she actually really did look good. I liked the way it was done. I liked it. I'm just saying. Now, with what Kathy had on, not for it at all. I mean, I don't know what look she was going for, but it failed miserably, is all I'm going to say. So everyone's back from lunch, and now we're at Kyle's package. She's the next one. So they're recapping about how, you know, she, had her daughter's wedding, and, how she was saying, like, how did we get here? We're separated. We're not together anymore. How she went back to uh, talking to Erika about her, being in love with someone and having to break up because they basically didn't want to be on the show, and she couldn't talk about it and how hard it was. And then we see another piece where she's in her old home. Remember, Amanda redid it. Her and Mo are touring it, and she's very emotional, thinking, that the memories, and she says it was just a simple life back then. And he says, life passes. And so Andy says to her, that was tough to watch. And Kyle says, yeah, I was just, thinking of all the memories. And he says, I found it kind of interesting how Mo was so emotionally disconnected at that scene at the house, at their old home. And Kyle says, well, he's looking at it from a business standpoint. She renovated the house, so how much it would be worth, probably. That's the way his mind's thinking all the time. And then all of a sudden, Kyle's like emotionally upset, and then he's taken back, and he doesn't know what to say. Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on it. Completely. I think that he was emotionally disconnected with her because she's been in love and had a relationship for how many years now? And now all of a sudden, you want to cry about how did we get here, and, how you miss your life? How is he supposed to react? You have been in a relationship. He has not. That's what I think the emotional disconnect was. But she's not going to say that, is she? That's just my opinion. And Andy says that, over Christmas when they were traveling, she made the comment that Mo was like looking around at, other women and stuff like that, and not seeing her being there. And, Kyle basically said, yeah, like, he forgot that, hello, I'm right here. Remember, your wife of 30 years. And Rachel says, yeah, I was there, because she was there in Aspen. She was like, it was really hard. Like, it was really bad. Okay, I get it. Maybe he shouldn't have been like looking in front of her while they were on Christmas vacation as a family. I totally get that. But he's probably not thinking about that anymore. We're talking a couple years of her being in a different relationship. Like, that ship sailed for him. So then Andy says to Kathy, why do you think they're so slow in filing for divorce? And Kathy says, denial. And Andy says to Kyle, are you afraid that filing for divorce will change your relationship with Mo? And Kyle says, yes. Well, of course it's going to change the relationship. Because once you file for that divorce and you like get into everything and assets are being split and all that, that's when it's going to get nasty. Then we're talking about financial things, to be quite honest. The kids are grown. There's no child support here. There's no like custody. Who's going to have custody? You know what I mean? The children are grown. This is literally going to have to do with their assets and money and ownership and all that stuff. And yeah, I think it could get nasty. I also think that if it didn't get nasty, which you kind of hope it wouldn't, right? I don't want anybody to go through that. I mean, look at what's going through with Dorit. Say it wasn't nasty and it was amicable, right? Yeah. He doesn't have to say hello to you. He doesn't have to say anything to you ever again because you're divorced. You know what I mean? It will change. Like you kind of wanted your cake and eat it too. But the narrative that she kept putting out is basically Mo cheated. Whether or not Mo cheated or not is not the issue. For him, I think. He might have. Let's say he did. Let's say allegedly he did. He didn't have a relationship with anybody. That was like a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And I'm not saying that's not disrespectful to his marriage or to his wife, but I think in Mo's mind, that's like a slap on the wrist. Like, you did wrong. Now you're going to have to pay for it. Now you're going to be on the couch for a long time, groveling, right? But he never had a full-blown relationship. He was never in love with someone else. He never brought a person to family events to meet his parents. Do you see what I'm saying? It's different. I think it's completely different. But a fan had asked, actually Dorit asked, Kyle, are you waiting for him to come back? And Kyle says, no. It's just not knowing what you want. A fan, I guess, had wrote in about the ownership of the agency if they get a divorce. Kyle said, it's mine. I own 50% of that. Now, under Erika's breath, she said, yeah, and the debt, which is true. That could be another reason why they're not filing. What's the point in filing? She has her own money. He has his own money. What's the point in filing? I'm just saying. Then, Andy says that Alexia's wedding was beautiful. He asks Kathy, what did she think about, Kyle through the wedding, basically. Kathy says, she felt sorry for her because she could see that she was a little sad because she was on her own, not married. And Kyle says, that she was emotional about it because it wasn't what she envisioned. Again, she's going back to how did we get here? And she says, the money, the fame, the travel. Can we put Morgan Wade in there too? I'm just saying. And Kyle says, well, she's explaining all this. Kathy gets a phone call. I'm not joking, on her cell phone. Even Kyle's like, I don't want to get emotional about this. This is like really emotional for her, which I get it. I mean, her daughter got married and a lot of feelings do come up. I mean, that's valid, right? So she's saying, like, I don't want to get emotional about this. Meanwhile, Kathy gets a phone call while they're filming. She's like, hello? Yeah? Okay, I'm at the reunion right now. Can I give you a call back? And by the way, only Kathy Hilton would be able to get away with that because Andy's like obsessed with her. If that was anybody else, he would have called them out on it. He would have said, hello, we're filming, put the phone away. You know what I mean? So, Bose also is talking about, maybe that they should get divorced now while they are cordial with each other, because Kyle stated that she also thinks that they won't file for divorce until somebody else comes into the picture where it's so serious that the other person has to say, okay, now we need to get divorced because basically I'm going to get married again. And Bo says, I wouldn't do that. Like, you're cordial now. That will make you angry. You're cordial now. Do it now while you're cordial and nobody is involved, technically. And, you know, Kyle, Andy says to Kyle that, you know, Mo is like all about town. But do you think that, you know, the show is what killed the marriage? She says no, not at all. But she also says that, you know, she feels like it really was the fame and the travel and all of that. She was explaining how, like, if he would have went to be a ski instructor in Aspen and she stayed home with the kids and that was their life, they would still be together. Well, yeah, that goes on both sides. And, you know, she also says that social media is like, that's the worst thing too, because the fans are reaching out and it's almost like giving somebody your phone number and letting them give you your opinion. Yeah, welcome to being on a reality show. And, you know, Andy also says to Kyle, you know, Mo, this is when he said it, that Mo is all about town, and you were tight-lipped about your relationship with Morgan, even though he doesn't say Morgan. And now that you've talked about it, do you feel like the weight has been lifted off? And Kyle says, a little bit. You know, Andy says it's difficult because they didn't want to be part of the show. And you staying on the show, is that what made you break up? Kyle says, no, there was no ultimatum or anything like that. Andy says to Dorit, now you said you were protecting Kyle for years. Remember this, for years. Is this what you were referring to? She said, yep, this is before her and Mo separated, I'm telling you. Then Andy says to Kyle, like, did you appreciate that she held that secret for you? Kyle says, I always appreciate when friends honor my, and she was going to say wishes or demands or whatever, but she stopped herself. Then, you know, Andy says to Kyle, did you feel like you were putting them in a position? Kyle says, yes. Andy says to Kyle, you know, people are invested in your life. You've been on the show for 12 years and longer, I think, actually. I don't know why you said 12 years because it's longer. But that's right. They are invested in her life. They've seen her children grow up on the show. They've seen her marriage go through ups and downs on the show. Yeah, they are invested, you know. And Kyle says, you know, yes, I've given to the show and I've showed my life. That is true. She has shown her life up till the last few years. I stand by that. And Andy says to Dorit, you know, on Watch What Happens Live, I asked you a question about what your reaction was to Kyle and he never says her name, but Morgan breaking up. And you responded, yeah, that happens when they're filming. Dorit says, yeah, I stand by that. And then she turns around and says, she's sitting right there. Ask her yourself. And Andy does, of course. And Kyle says, it's clear that I'm single. And no, I'm no longer heartbroken. Oh my God. I wanted to go through the television just to let you know. Because as soon as they stopped filming, she was seen with Morgan in Nashville, where she bought a home, near Morgan's studio. Really? Give me a break. So, people are invested. And, I think that Kyle forgets that how invested the fans are in the Bravo verse. It's true. I mean, the fans of Bravo are extremely loyal fans as well. And yes, they want to see your life. You're on the reality show for that, mind you. But my issue is that she hasn't shown her life for the last few years at all. I mean, yeah, you saw a glimpse of Alexia's wedding. You saw her here and there planning it. You see her and Mo talking about things here and there over the years that they've been separated. The issue I'm having is Morgan never had a problem being on the show before. Matter of fact, I think she just signed for a show on a different network, if I'm not mistaken, like Dutton's Farm, Dutton's Peak, something like that. So obviously, she doesn't have a problem being on shows. She's also a public figure herself. Hello, she's a country singer. Something's not matching up here. You know what I mean? But as soon as they were done filming, she was seen with Morgan in Nashville. Like, really? That's where you go as soon as you're done filming? It does back up Dorit saying that. You know what I mean? And by the way, when Dorit said she's sitting right there, why don't you ask her? I mean, you couldn't have. Dorit had her lips perched, her eyes big, waiting. Are you going to tell the truth? And she didn't. And Dorit knew she wouldn't. I think that was. So now we're doing Sutton's package on the reunion. And of course, they're recapping the change of Sutton as her ex-husband went to the Catholic Church to have their marriage annulled. That's crazy. And it's crazy that the church said yes. So when that letter came, it came as Sutton Brown. And now she's thinking, I'm not a Strack, so I'm going to reintroduce myself as Sutton Brown. She has been making all these changes. She doesn't want to be so reactive. And I really think she's actually done a good job on that. Andy says to Dorit, I assume that you don't think Sutton's changed. Dorit said, no. I was the first to say that she had changed. But the Strack came out, basically, Andy says to Erika, you had mentioned that you noticed that there was no more vodka. And so Andy says to Sutton, why the change? Why did you stop drinking like you did? And Sutton says, I stopped drinking for 3 months. And it was just so much better for me. And now I just have a couple glasses of wine with dinner or champagne. But that's it, So Andy says to Sutton, did you think that you had a problematic issue or relationship with alcohol? Sutton says maybe. She said she knew, though, that she felt lost, that she found herself drinking too frequently. Andy asks about the Albie split. She says there was nothing to talk about. Like, she terminated his employment. She paid him a severance. They both signed papers on each end, which was probably NDAs, again, for each other. And that was it. She had also explained that she just didn't need an assistant anymore because, the kids had left the house. It was just her. Like, she didn't have a lot going on to need an assistant. So why pay for one? It had nothing to do personally with Avi. That's the story she's going for, and she's sticking to it. Andy says, yeah, but Garcelle and Avi actually posed on the red carpet for photographs. She said, listen, Garcelle and Avi were friends, and Rachel says that was a dig for sure. Sutton says, well, I felt like it was a dig. And of course, Andy's asking about Garcelle. Sutton says, Garcelle was really her true friend. She said, I don't know why she's not really talking to me, but I would do anything for her and those boys. She says that she thinks what happened is during the reunion, Andy asked her, what was your biggest surprise? And Sutton said her relationship with Erika. I do not believe that was the issue whatsoever for Garcelle. I think that was just maybe the icing on the cake. I think the real issue was that she was quiet because she was up Kyle's ass. And Garcelle had had enough. She wasn't defending her when she needed her to stand by her. She was actually too worried about Kyle. And on Watch What Happens Live, Garcelle said that she gave more to the friendship. That's why she's saying that. Jennifer, of course, jumps in and says, look, I really did see a genuine friendship between Sutton and Garcelle. Off camera, this was before Jennifer even joined the show. She was with them when they were not filming, and that really was a true friendship. Sutton says that, listen, she lost a friend. And she says, I hope one day that we can reconcile or at least talk. Andy then says, listen, the fans did not like when you jumped all over Jennifer Tilly. Sutton's like, oh, I know, Jennifer right away says, look, Sutton is a good friend. She has been there for me in the most crucial times of my life. She says, I want to apologize to Sutton. I should have, number one, I knew you were irritated. I should have never jumped in. And, then I was feeling vulnerable. And she said, and I should have never said those things to Kyle. And Sutton, of course, says, thank you for your apology, but I also want to apologize for barking at you. I certainly didn't mean it. You are the one person that I would never want to hurt. Then Andy says to Rachel, well, not to Rachel, he's talking about Rachel's birthday dinner, that, the encounter with Dorit kind of went south. She's talking about the birthday party, actually, not the dinner. He actually said dinner, but it was her birthday party. And Dorit said, yeah, she looked at me and I just knew that look. I've seen that look for how many years now? And Sutton says, you are presupposing things. She says, I was not coming for you. And Dorit says, I saw it in your eyes. Sutton says, what you saw in my eyes was exhaustion. Andy says that Sutton didn't show up for the book party. Had she had shown up for the book party, would things have been different? Dorit says, well, of course. I showed up for her fashion show and I supported her. Well, Sutton jumped right onto that train and they had the footage to back her up, because Sutton was like, yeah, you did attend my fashion show. You attended my fashion show just so that you could then rip it and tear it down. And that's exactly what Dorit did. So then Dorit says, what really hurt was seeing you and Erika together instead of at my book party. The two of you were together. That's what really hurt me. Erika jumps in and says, I could not attend because I was hurt. And Dorit's like, why were you hurt? Erika says, with something that you said at the table. And Dorit says, then explain it. And Erika says, at that table in Italy, you turned around and told me that I was coming at you just to save my job. Dorit says, you unleashed on me. Erika says, I unleashed on you when you turned around and you said Boz was the only one that supported you ever at that table. That's what made me unleash at you. And so then Andy says to Dorit, do you want to apologize to Erika? And Dorit says, for what? And that is where the reunion ends. It's true. So I think we're just about now to get to the hairy part of it, which is going to be on the reunion part 3. If you can hear my dog barking in the background, yeah, I don't know why she's barking. So how do you think the reunion went? I mean, if you could rate it 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, what would you rate it? I would rate it a good 7.5. I'm being honest. There were some points that I definitely am walking away with. Number 1, let's talk about Sutton. Sutton didn't bring anything to the table this season. And I understand sometimes you can have a season like that. But Sutton didn't bring anything to the table. However, I don't know if she's going to be asked back next year. I mean, I really don't. I'm not quite sure. I mean, Jennifer Tilly actually brought more to the table than Sutton did. I mean, wouldn't that be the cat's meow? You know what I'm saying? Jennifer Tilly gets asked to be a full-time housewife and Sutton gets demoted as friend of. That would be a big twist. But Sutton's downfall is that she is just so concerned with being up Kyle's ass. Seriously. I mean, let's just see this, just this season alone. Yes, her and Dorit started making amends in their friendship. She started building it with Dorit, building Dorit's trust back. And then all of a sudden, there's this twist where now she's with Kyle, kind of like in that one scene in Italy. She's like telling Amanda, oh yeah, that was horrible that she brought up that cult. You should say something. I mean, Sutton now becomes Kyle's minion, one of many, but one of Kyle's minions, because Sutton has always been worried about being up Kyle's ass. She's always been worried about it. Number 1, because if you're not on Kyle's good side, she can make it difficult for you and you might get fired. But she has put such an importance on her relationship with Kyle. I mean, Garcelle talked about this several times when she was on the show. I really do think that that's one of the reasons why Garcelle left the show, is because Sutton was too far up Kyle's ass that she couldn't even defend her real friend. And that's going to be Sutton's downfall. Being one of Kyle's minions, one of many, I think it's going to be her downfall. And I'm not quite sure she's coming back to the show. I'm just saying. And when it comes to Dorit, listen, this girl's been activated. I am here for an activated Dorit. Don't get it twisted. She's been activated all season, and I have loved it. This reunion, I mean, she's got her lips perched, her eyes big as saucers. She's just waiting for somebody to say the wrong thing, and she's going to pounce on them. It doesn't matter who it is. And yeah, she has it out for Kyle, as she should. When it comes to their relationship, listen, Dorit said this all season. She kept saying, she's not my friend. She's not a friend. Kyle went to every single person in this cast talking about Dorit. I'm so concerned. I really care about her. She said it on her confessionals. And Dorit kept saying to everyone, if she was a real friend, if she was really concerned, why wouldn't she come to me if she was a real friend? And the point Dorit was making was she's not a real friend. And in this reunion, part 2, Kyle finally admits it. She turns around and she says to Dorit, we're not friends. And Dorit says, exactly. Dorit was right. And I don't blame her. And I don't blame her for being activated about it either. I'm not mad about it whatsoever. What angers me, well, not angers me, but what insults me. Yeah, that's the right terminology. What insults me is Kyle thinking that the Bravoverse, the fans of Bravo, the fans of just RHOBH or even just her are stupid. That insults me. Because she had this relationship with Morgan Wade for several years. I mean, this even came out in the reunion that Dorit kept it quiet. She's had this relationship for several years. I am so sick and tired of hearing Kyle on her confessionals, being so emotional. How did we get here? I don't understand. Hello, lady. You had a full-blown relationship, and probably still do, with another person. Whether it was man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You had a full-blown relationship where you admitted you fell in love with this person. You took this person to family events. That's probably how you got here. I'm so sick of this emotional bullshit from her going, I don't know how we got here. How did we get here? Ugh. Aggravating. Aggravating. That's all I can keep saying. And insulting. Aggravating and insulting. That's what it is. I'm just saying. But what did you guys think? What did you take away from this part of the reunion, part 2? I love to hear your comments. I love to keep the conversation going. Keep it going with the comments down below. And you know what to do before you do that. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here, breakers, we break the dish.